Now, your forecast first, sponsored by Matex Heating, Cooling, and Plumbing.
Well, a nice, calm, but cool night setting up across central Illinois. We have got, again, some clouds that were around earlier today, but now those clear skies are going to allow for the temperature to really drop off tonight. Readings are going to be heading down to the teens by morning. Let's take a look at where we're at this present time. We're already down to 28 in Champaign. Still holding on to 33 in Effingham, 29 in Springfield. For the kids heading out to the bus stop in the morning, expecting a chilly 21 degrees, but quite a bit of sunshine around for you Wednesday. We've got quite a bit of it in the forecast over the next several days. We will talk about when our next rain and snow chance arrives. We'll outline that for you coming up. WCIA 3 News starts right now.
You're watching your local news leader. This is WCIA 3 News at 10.
But I think it's appropriate to express my deepest and most profound and everlasting gratitude to President Trump.
Words of appreciation tonight from Rod Blagojevich as he is headed home from prison. Good evening. I'm Paul Cicchini.
And I'm Jessica Coons. President Trump commuted the former Illinois governor's sentence earlier today after calling his 14-year sentence ridiculous. Blagojevich is already on a plane home from Colorado, but he did have some time to answer some questions at the airport beforehand, including what he learned from prison.
It's a broken criminal justice system, and it's an unfair criminal justice system. It's a criminal justice system with too many people who have too much power, who don't have any accountability, and they could railroad people, put innocent people in prison, and they are, generally speaking, virtually always prone to over-sentence people.
Blagojevich will have a press conference tomorrow morning at his home.
President Trump commuted the former governor's sentence today, but not everyone is giving him a pass.
That announcement started a lot of debate as to whether or not the president made the right call and why. WCIA 3's Emily Braun is live in our newsroom tonight. Emily, you saw and heard a lot of different perspectives from people in central Illinois today.
Yes, and I'm sure many of you watching this at home right now did too. When we shared the article to Facebook, I went through hundreds of comments. And when I talked to people in person, whether they wanted to go on camera or not, it seemed like everyone had something to say about it. President Trump decided to commute former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich's prison sentence. That sent Illinois residents past and present into an uproar.
It's really the first thing he's done in the last 4 years that I disagree with. I think we don't have enough Illinois governors in prison.
Blagojevich had 17 corruption charges. He was convicted in 2011. His crimes included trying to sell an appointment to Barack Obama's old Senate seat and shaking down a children's hospital. He served 8 years out of his 14-year sentence.
I think he served his time well enough. I'm not bothered by this by any means.
But others are, and asking why.
My thoughts are that it's sickening. I feel like that decision was made for a reason, and that sentence should be played out the way it was intended.
People that are important have a real responsibility, and if they fail in that responsibility, they should pay big time.
Now that Blagojevich is out of prison, people are wondering what comes next for him. That leads to another heavily debated question. Do you think that he deserves a second chance?
Doesn't everybody deserve a second chance in some form or another? I think it's what you do with that second chance. You know, fool me once, you know, shame on you, fool me twice, then it's kind of my own fault.
I think part of his sentence was that he wouldn't have a chance to ever come back and serve in any position, and how could we trust him ever to do that?
That last comment you heard was part of Blagojevich's impeachment terms. He may be free from prison, but he can never again hold public office in Illinois. But of course, he could make moves in the private sector. Jessica?
We'll have to see. Emily, thanks so much. In the state capitol and on Capitol Hill, Illinois politicians in both parties are not happy about this decision. It was one of the rare areas of bipartisan agreement that what Blagojevich did was wrong, and lawmakers are now saying this sends the wrong message about corruption.
Blagojevich is a real touchstone for a lot of people of what is wrong in Illinois politics, and it's unfortunate that this has happened with this president in this time.
I saw a governor who was rogue on steroids. He was a person that didn't care about the state of Illinois, cared about his own ambition, and he abused the office.
And even today, an attorney for the former governor says Blagojevich believes he never did anything wrong.
In other news, after more than 120 kids who had contact with DCFS died last year, the State House wants to get the agency on track. One idea is the A.J. Friend Act. He was the 5-year-old from suburban Chicago whose parents beat him to death. The act would give law enforcement the ability to investigate any accusations of child abuse or neglect, instead of giving that power solely to DCFS.
Helping with adoption, helping get local law enforcement involved in these cases, and a slew of other bills. I think there's a lot of great opportunities to make the system better. As was mentioned, there's a lot of good providers, there's a lot of good things to talk about, but we've got to fix these big negative problems. We cannot have children suffering and dying under our care.
2 other measures proposed include improving online reporting for mandated reporters who suspect abuse and cleaning up the agency's adoption process for qualified families. New at 10 tonight, FBI agents arrested 15 men accused of contacting children online. 3 are from Central Illinois. Joshua Koenig of Buckley and Robert Anderson of Paxton are charged with attempted enticement of a minor. Cole Montgomery of Danville is charged with the same crime and attempted sexual exploitation of a child. The feds say the men used social media to engage with FBI employees posing as 14 and 15-year-olds.
A fire destroyed an abandoned house in Danville tonight. It happened near the corner of Clay and Robinson. Crews got the call around 6 o'clock. WCIA 3's Jennifer Jensen is at the scene with more information.
They hired an excavator to tear down the house to make sure that all of the flames were able to be put out. The fire captain on scene says the house was so unstable they declared part of it a collapse zone. That potential danger meant that firefighters could not go inside and had to tackle it externally. The cause is still being investigated, but the captain on scene says an extensive fire starting this early in the night is unusual. As of right now, they say nobody was hurt. The fire started near the front of the vacant house and spread quickly. Flames continued to burn and spark up for hours. The home next to it also has damage on outside of the panels, but the fire did not spread inside to any other homes. As of right now, the fire department is still on scene tackling this fire, but the fire captain did want to give a special shout out and credit to his team here tonight for the way that they handled this fire. He says that their quick thinking and strategy prevented the fire from spreading to other homes and causing severe damage. In Danville, I'm Jennifer Jensen, WCIA 3, your local news leader.
Danville's fire department says this is the 15th structure fire they've responded to this year alone. Just 2 weeks ago, there were 2 fires within a few hours of each other. One was on Madison Street between Harmon and New York. The other was near McKinley Avenue and Romine Street. And a fire in Decatur displaced 16 people last night. It happened at the corner of North Street and North College Street. Investigators say it's possible an electrical issue started it. 14 adults and 2 kids living in those apartments have been asked to relocate for a few days because it isn't safe to stay inside. We spoke with some of them today. They say the Red Cross gave them money to cover living expenses for a few days. One of them says he was cooking in his apartment when that fire started.
I freaked out and was just grabbing everything that I could bring with me. I grabbed like a whole case of water, was trying to figure out where this fire was and put it out myself, but by that time it was already smoking. The whole building was full of smoke, and I was just like, we're just gonna get out of here, man. Just get out, wait for the fire department to show up.
A city inspector says that building is not safe to live in until some electrical issues are fixed, and people living there told us that'll probably take about a week.
The Macon County Sheriff's Department is dealing with a group of teenagers some businesses say are causing problems. The kids usually start gathering at Hickory Point Mall, where employees there say they pull fire alarms and try to start fights. They say the group then goes to McDonald's or Red Lobster. Cars have been vandalized in the parking lot at Red Lobster. The sheriff's office has added patrols near the mall. A business in downtown Decatur is closing its doors after 14 years. DECATUR Fine Wine and Spirits opened in June 2006. The owners are retiring. The store is having a sale to clear its inventory. One co-owner says his favorite part about working there has been getting to know his customers.
Really love being downtown. They remodeled, had a new streetscape basically, and I think around 2012, and really enhanced the downtown area. And so I just really enjoy being with the other business owner community.
The store's liquor license expires at the end of April. The last day will either be when that license expires or when all the wine is gone.
A major healthcare provider is making some staffing cuts. How that could affect you.
Also tonight.
So we're hoping it'll shed some light on those.
Champaign's considering cameras downtown, why their purpose is different from what you might expect.
Plus, IO returned to the court looking to take home a win against Penn State. We'll have all the highlights.